I'd like to call to order the meeting of the City of Washington Parks and Recreation Commission. Roll call, Wayne?
Dan Cassette. Bob Zurich.
Yes.
Bob Kleppel.
Here.
Kevin Creedy.
Here.
Nick Obermark. Here. Jeff Patke. Tessie Steffens.
Here.
Sparky Stuckenschneider.
Here.
Debbie Todebush.
Here.
Dave Waymeyer.
Here.
Betty Werner.
Here.
Gavin Woolley.
Here.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
approval of the minutes from our last meeting, January 27th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have the motion by Betty and second by Debbie. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Parks report, Wayne?
Parks report. All right. Lot going on in the Parks Department right now. Trying to hire lots of staff. We have our marketing out for hiring for the summer, so we're looking for camp staff, and I know Robin had some interviews today with some young ladies. Concession stand workers, pool cashiers, seasonal maintenance, which right now we don't have any new people. We don't have any new applications, so that could be an issue. We do have at least one, maybe two returners. I do have an intern hired, or will have an intern hired, so she accepted. So that'll be something new for the department. The department hasn't had an intern in many, many years, so. And that'll be good because we got a lot going on this summer. And then office, some summer office help, and so we have some applications for that too, so that's good. Doing a lot, still doing purchasing for the concession stand, different equipment and tables and things like that we need. I'm trying to finish up the RFP for the lifeguard contract. Hoping to have that out, released hopefully by the end of this week. And then Robin's doing a lot of planning and marketing for spring programs, which she didn't get to do last year. So first one is going to be egg hunt on March 27th, the Easter egg hunt. And that will be kind of how it is normally. It's not going to be a drive-through. It'll be an outdoor event like we normally do. Usually goes pretty quick. Just an update, I can't remember exactly when we opened it, but the auditorium is open for business again. We have co-ed volleyball leagues going on in there on Thursday. We have 6 teams playing in there. It's open for free walking and pickleball. Camp registration is open now. I think I mentioned last meeting that we limited the number of campers to 50 this year, 50 total. And right now, as of today, we had 30 registered already. So people are wanting to come back to camp, so that's good. Some of you may notice the old playgrounds at Main Park were removed when the ground was frozen recently, and so we still have those pads to get out of there. We had a couple people ask why they were being removed, and once I show them pictures that I had on my phone, of rusty and parts falling off of it and things like that, then that kind of squashes all because from the road it looked good, but once you got up close to it, there was issues. And then staff and I are working on pavilion bids for the lake pavilions, and we kind of discussed some of that last month. So that's the Parks report.
Can I, one thing with the Easter egg hunt, I talked to Robin the other day.
Oh, yes.
And she needs help, okay, with the Easter egg hunt. I told her that I could go on that Saturday if you guys or any of you can help her.
When is it?
It's, she needs help putting the eggs out on the Midway field up there, and that's at like 7:30 on a Saturday morning. But it wouldn't last long. So, I told her I'd bring it up and ask if we could get people to help. And, I think the last time I worked with her, I think the whole thing is over by
Oh,
10:30.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
By
goes
10,
quick.
yeah, it goes
It's-
really
Yeah.
10
They
minutes.
run, they get their eggs, they get their prize, and
They're
they're,
out of there.
so if you guys, if anybody can help, please let Robin know, because she's really needing help.
And what's the date on that, Tessie, please?
Saturday, March 27th.
yes, thank you, Tessie.
Well, I know she needed some people at 7:30. She might have something a little bit later. I don't know. You just need to call her
Okay,
and
I'll call
she'll
Robin.
Could I
tell you what.
scatter them with a
Some of them other
bazooka?
years, she needed help
Stuffing
putting
it.
stuff in them.
Yeah, she might need
Does
that
she
too.
still need that?
I
wonder?
think so. And that you wouldn't have to do on Saturday.
Right. You could
You
do
know,
it during the
so
week.
if you just give her a call, guys, that would
Who do
be
we,
great.
Jesse, who do we call?
Robin?
Robin? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tessie.
Any other questions or comments for Wayne? Communications from the audience? Okay. Old business, the new aquatic facility update.
Okay, things are moving along out there. So we do, every 2 weeks, we do a Zoom pool meeting with the construction crew. So this is from February 25th, I guess, right? Yeah.
Hey,
So,
Wayne, since you're not too close to anybody, you mind taking your mask off?
Oh, yeah.
When you talk?
Sorry.
I think we could understand you, at least I can.
yeah, probably. So things are moving along at the pool, and some of this could be a little bit old, but they're starting to excavate for the shade structures on the south hill. At one point, they thought they might hit rock, but so far they haven't, so that's good. Splash pad, I think, will be poured this week. At least that's what I had here. I saw last week when I was out there, or earlier this week, it was formed up to be poured, so it should be poured anytime. Tile guys were here late last week and should be finishing up tile work around the perimeter of the pool. The mechanical room is supposed to be finished this week. Excuse me. Bathhouse, they said they considered it 95% complete. So that's the building they considered 95% complete. Dirt work removal, I had next week, which is this week, so that started today, I believe, and so they had a Caterpillar out there moving dirt and hauling it up to the shop on some spots that we needed dirt up there. Asphalt for the new parking lot set for the end of March. And then they're gonna start doing some work, finished grading work on the hillside, the south hillside that used to be rock, that will be grass now. And then the rest of the concrete pool deck that's not currently poured will be poured probably around the second week of April, so. Things are moving along, and there's, right now, I'm just dealing with a lot of minor tweaks and things like that we've noticed in the plans and things like that. Dealing with some fencing issues, the way the fence was laid out, and countertop issues and things, small things like that. Just trying to get it the way we want it. But all in all, things are looking good, and it's definitely not behind schedule. I don't know if it's
Good.
still ahead of schedule, but I know it's not behind schedule, so that's good. Yes, sir.
What's the possibility of having both the Park Commission and the Pool Committee take a little tour?
Oh, yes. I don't know if I mentioned, yes. I was thinking of that recently, so let me write that in the notes. And I know I have staff that we need to get back out there too and look at some things for just how things are going to function and things like that. So, yes, I will put that down there. And I will look for a date and time and try to get that set up.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good idea, Ken.
Good question.
Anything else, Wayne, on the pool?
That's it on the pool.
Any questions, any other comments? New pool fees?
Sort of related. So though the fees that I showed you guys last month were passed by city council, so that's good. So we're all set there. I mistakenly said, I don't know if it was in this meeting or council meeting, that as soon as council passed it, we'd begin marketing. Well, I lied because We had cards made last year, when the pool wasn't open. We used some money that was in the pool account to have cards, the pass cards, the plastic cards that you would scan or whatever made. And then, with the pool fees and how we structured it and everything, it had some wording on there that wasn't quite correct, and we thought maybe we could cover it up with a piece of tape, but we thought that kind of looked bad. And so anyways, we scrapped the old cards and got new full-size cards. So we had to wait for those to be produced. We didn't want to advertise that we were, selling passes, but not having, that we didn't actually have the passes. So those, I think, are supposed to be finished Friday? Oh, yeah. Casey's got a picture of the pass. So shipping on the 11th, and as soon as we get them in, then we can start marketing. One thing I realized after council passed those fees, and it can be, this is a minor thing, and I'll have plenty of things to go to council between now and when the pool opens, but staff and I forgot, we were talking at one point this winter about having a fee for the end of the day. What was it called? Extended evening or evening rate. So having an evening rate of say $3 or $4 from that would start at what was it? 5 to 6:30. So that last hour and a half, you could get into the pool for $3 or $4, something like that. So I ran it by Darren, and he seemed to think that was a good idea. There's no rush on it to get it to council or anything like that. But that way, if you're not paying the full $7 daily fee to get in, and you don't have to use one of your punch cards, your $5 punches. You can just pay the $3 to get in for an hour and a half if you wanted. So just another option to make it more affordable for everyone.
Wayne, it says it's non-transferable, but it can be used by anybody, right? Multiple people?
Yes, right? Right. Oh, to a
Okay.
different, so you couldn't, if your cousin and you both had cards and your cousin was moving, I guess, you can't take on your cousin's punches. We wouldn't add them to your card.
Oh, okay.
Just because he's leaving town.
I got you. Okay.
But you could take his card, couldn't you?
Probably, I guess, technically. Don't be telling anyone that.
Transferable.
Not that I would think that way.
Yeah. Don't give anyone any ideas.
Okay, and any other comments or questions on the fees? The Hummingbird Club sightline tree removal, I know who they can hire.
So this is in reference to the Hummingbird Club. We went out to bid. We filed the sightline agreement that the city has with all the homeowners in the Hummingbird Club. And I can't remember if I think I only mentioned that this might be coming up at the last meeting, but the process is, if you're a homeowner and you are the Hummingbird Club and you would like trees removed, you have a sightline agreement with the city and you'd like to have trees removed from the city property, the first step is to write the city a letter, the city administrator a letter, saying I'd like to have some trees removed. And then myself and Josh meet with the homeowner of the Hummingbird Club, and then we look at all the trees, and there's a formula on how which trees get removed, and there's a plane, a sightline plane going down the river, and then there's a certain criteria along the river on which trees can be removed. And it's a long process, like with the large area that the Hummingbird Club, it took several meetings with just myself and Josh walking it and figuring out which trees. And then we had to meet with the president of the Hummingbird Club, and he had an idea in his head of what he thought it was. And then the last time this was done was like 2008, and there's not a whole lot of paperwork on it. And so engineering drew up a kind of like a diagram or a plan of, based on, the engineering department ran it by the lawyer who drafted this back in 2007. The lawyer signed off on it and said, yes, this is what the agreement is. And then if the trees fall in this area, then they can be removed if needed. And so we went through that with the president. We're all in agreement. Then the project had to be bid out. So we had a pre-bid there was a mandatory pre-bid meeting, had 4 bidders show up, had 3 bidders submit bids, and we accepted the low bid, which was Dynamic Tree Service of Washington, and the amount was $29,925. And that's to have, Josh and I marked 80 trees that needed to be removed along, and Tom was, and the president of the Hummingbird. 80.
80?
And Tom was the president of the Hummingbird Club was in agreement with those 80. Now, there could be, once they get going down there, and there could be other ones that need to be removed. So we worded it in the RFP where there could be between 80 and 95 trees. So they based their bid on 95 trees. There could be less than that, but there'll probably be a minimum of 80 and max of 95. And the contractor's looking to start on March 8th, so next Monday. And Josh is going down there tomorrow where he's installing I guess you would call it like working lane. So he'll go in the middle of the property with our forestry cutter machine, cut a path around kind of get rid of some of the smaller underbrush. And then the contractor will operate kind of parallel to the river off of that path. And so they're supposed to chip up, or they can chip up anything 14 inches and below and just leave it on the ground. Anything 14 inches and bigger, they have to haul out to the city compost site. So,
Is any of that on the railroad property?
No. And there's none in the wetland area either, too. We stayed, so their sightline view, so the wetland backs up to the railroad, and the railroad backs up to the base of their property. But they're not, the trees that would be in the wetland or right at the railroad, those aren't the trees they see over those trees, so those weren't the ones we were worried about to begin with. But there's nothing in the water or underwater that we're removing. But the trail will have to be closed when this is going on. Not the total trail. Like the plan right now that Josh and I discussed this afternoon is we'll put a barricade on each end of the trail, and there'll be a sign on a barricade that says trail closed. So if you were at Riverfront Park and you wanted to walk the trail towards the bridge, the barricade would have a sign on it that says trail closed quarter mile after the bridge. And so that would at least give the runners and bikers, knowledge that the trail would be closed. And we would leave it closed the entire time because we'd hate to put up the barricades, have someone go through to the other side, or have someone go through before the barricades are up, then we put up the barricades, and then they're trapped on the other side, and they technically can't get back to the, down here. So once the barricades are up, they'll be up. We didn't want to have to be putting them up and taking them down. We don't want people to get sneak past and things like that. So on the other end of the trail, the sand plant end of the trail, we'll do the same thing. We'll have a barricade that says trail closed a quarter of a mile before the bridge. So that'll warn everyone that would park on that end coming in. So you'll be able to go basically to the area that we're working, and you'll have to stop and turn around and go back.
How long do they think it'll be closed?
He said he thought he could get everything done, depending on weather, in a week.
Oh, wow.
So, and he wants to start on Monday. So,
Okay. Any other
and we also will have signs up on I'm envisioning them on the barricades, because people will get there and start looking around, that will say something to the effect that this tree work project's in conjunction with the city of Washington. So people are fully aware that no one's going
Good
to.
idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. New business. Illegal tree removal.
So, and as I stated earlier, the city attorney, Mark Piontek, couldn't make it tonight, and he is on the agenda. So he did send an email, which I passed around to you guys, kind of describing where we are in the process with the illegal tree removal along the trail. And so I've been in.
It's on the back page.
Did everyone get it?
No, I didn't get a copy. It's got the letter.
Is it with,
Draft,
That's not it.
letter.
The very back, oh, the very back.
Very
Okay, the
bad.
very back.
It's the last page. There we go.
I had mine separate. I threw mine
Got
on my
it.
desk already. So I've been in several meetings this week and last week on this, and then looks like the St. Louis media picked it up last night on TV. And so the email, I mean, I'll let you guys read through it if you haven't already. If you have any questions, let me know. I know everyone I've talked to, this group, Urban Forestry, the people on the trail when I was down there taking pictures all expressed the same disgust as you all did. And then I can tell you the city staff that I sat in with the meetings about this on are all feel the same way, so.
Where did, I think I read it in the paper and also on KTVI, $66,000. Where'd that come from?
Well, I don't know what was, I didn't read the full article in the paper, in
Did
the
anybody else read that?
local paper. I know on TV last night they said 66,000,
Right.
and so I think it talks about it in here, about triple the value. So Josh, our arborist, we had to do, now Josh is not a certified arborist in this facet. He does have an arborist certification, ISA certification, but as far as valuing trees, this is not his thing. So we did some research online on the value of trees, and so there's a formula you can use to come up with the value of trees, but it depends on what setting they're in, what type of tree was removed, and things like that. And so if it's not an oak tree on the White House front lawn, you're going to be deducted points. So if it was in a wetland setting, you're deducted, like a certain percentage is taken off because it's not your front yard, it's not a manicured space, that type of thing. And so he came up, there was 100, he went down, he surveyed the area that was destroyed, came up with approximately 150 trees, and then looked at this formula, inserted the numbers, and came up with approximately 22,000. Now, Missouri law, that's what it states in here. Where is it? It talks about triple the value determined. So, what I saw on TV last night was that because the detective said that he didn't tell him, the reporter, $66,000, the reporter did the math. The detective said $22,000, and the reporter then did, based on the law, did times 3 and came
Okay.
up with that, so.
Okay. Now, the trees along the bank on the south side over past that he trimmed and cut down, is that on?
So I guess where we are is the Corps of Engineers has been contacted, and from there, the Corps of Engineers reaches out to DNR and the railroad, and I think U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And so I'm not exactly sure where, it's kind of a little gray area where we are with DNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife, but I know the railroad was coming out sometime this week to survey the damage and determine if they're going to pursue.
Is this, I went up there, there's basically 2 houses, one's for sale, 3¼ acres, I believe.
That's not it.
That's not it, it was the other house? Okay, all right.
I'm trying to think.
How
Any other?
did they get down? I mean, did they just come down from the house?
So that's the issue. So the way I found out about it was on Monday, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, last Monday, not this past Monday, but the Monday before, right after we had that cold snap. We had a call at 10:30 on Saturday, and the man left a message, and then another call about 11 o'clock again, but he didn't leave a message. And the message said, "I'm concerned. There's 2 guys down along the trail cutting down trees," and that was his message. And I know I was really confused because the Friday before this, I just had the pre-bid meeting down there with the tree service guys at the property right next door to this, and I was like, man, that's really weird that the tree service guys would be down there cutting trees already, unless they were because I told them, I said, if you guys want, I didn't have all day to spend with them doing this pre-bid meeting, and it's a big area of ground to cover and looking at all these marks. I said, if you guys want to come down this weekend and look at the trees on your own, you can. It's public property, it's a park, just walk around the woods if you want. And they're like, okay. I said, but you're not going to be able to drive in like we just did. You're going to have to, walk in and park at the park and walk in. And they said, oh, okay, that's great. And so that was the first thought that went through my head. I was like, these tree guys came in and they start cutting trees already. That doesn't make sense. Why would they start cutting trees and haven't even won the bid yet? And so I couldn't wrap my head around it. And so I called the guy that left a message, and he said, yeah, I saw some guys cutting trees down there. And I said, well, I said, did they have a chainsaw? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, are we talking like 1 or 2 trees? He goes, no, they were like clear cutting the whole area. And I was like, what? I was like, there's no way. And so I called Josh right away, and he went down and he called me back and gave me a report. And he's like, yeah, it's about the size of a football field. And I was like, you're kidding me. And I said, well, I asked him, I was like, well, who do you think did this? And he goes, well, I don't, he goes, I kind of looked up on the hill, and I said, well, go up there and see if you can get an address. And then we got police involved. And
When I went down to look about a block over from there, if you go past the Legion, and so it's like a dead-end street.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it, but I go to the dead-end street and I get out, and there's like a culvert. So you could go down that culvert and not knowing exactly where it was, but it was not hard to, that would be one way you could get down there. You could carry equipment in there and have no problem.
oh, but I forgot, I
Can't
kind of,
cross,
Well, they could have
it's
passed all the way down.
Across the railroad.
Well, they,
On
from
the
up
slope,
top, they
on the
cut their
slope.
path down.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I think they
Worse
came.
than I thought.
I think they came from up top. So I got sidetracked on my answer there. That wetland was frozen that day,
So they could walk.
so they could walk on it. And so that's how they got out there. Now it's not frozen, and we're having a hard time finding out, exactly how many trees, because we can't see all the stumps anymore, or even get out there to measure some of them, so.
Well,
Yes, Bob?
Wayne, them property lines down there, where do they end for the individuals like in the Hummingbird Club? Do they stop at the railroad tracks?
yes.
They stopped before, the property line stopped before the railroad tracks, because I think what I heard.
There's a guy tell me Hummingbirds own that all the way to the river. I said,
No,
I
they
don't
do
think
not.
so.
No, they do not, because if they did, then I would.
Yeah,
And the
you-
neighbor next to me. And when this
Exactly.
was all going on, early on, before with the 2007,
Right.
it is right before the railroad tracks, because they have, I
north
forget what
side.
it's called, but right away.
Yeah.
Before it and then, and across from it. So they do not own all the way. And if a couple reasons too. Nobody's ever paid a tax. But that was all when we were putting in the trail, a long, long time
Right,
ago.
I remember
So,
when that was
no,
all happening, but
No,
I mean, back when the railroad was built, the river was to the railroad tracks.
right. And
The ground that the park is on now is dredged material out of the river.
Yes, it's like I think the word is increte.
Accreted land.
And it built and built and built up. And so, no, they don't own.
so they own it. The property line starts north of the railroad track.
Yes.
Yeah, I was told in a meeting, they said the railroad has like 50 feet on each side. So if you're 50 feet on each side from the center of the railroad tracks.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how to ask this, but I'm just curious, and maybe Nick, you could answer. I mean, we're upset that this happened. The tree committee is extremely upset this happened. Is the council, I mean, are they upset that this has happened?
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
We are,
because,
without getting in danger of jeopardizing anything, we are moving forward on
okay.
pursuing.
So there will be some serious
Consequences?
repercussions
Yeah, okay.
for this action.
Yep.
Okay, good, because,
As to what that all is, we're not exactly sure yet. I mean, we're just in the beginning steps of it here, like I said, we're waiting for the independent audit from the arborist instead of using our own.
Right.
So, I mean, we're just getting started, so.
Okay,
There will be some action from the council.
okay.
I would
That-
hope,
that-
I would hope the railroad takes this pretty seriously too, because I mean, one of those
I
trees
agree.
could have fouled the tracks, it could have, I mean, there's.
Oh, yeah.
If you had a company down there doing this work without notifying the railroad, I mean, it's $10,000 per employee, and that's a personal fee, fine, that's not a company fine. It turns into some pretty serious stuff with them, so
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah, it does.
they feel the
No, I
same way
agree.
about that.
I hope that, and I also hope because it's a wetland.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many aspects to this, and if it's not taken seriously by all parties, then the agreement really that was reached in 2007 means nothing. And everybody, I'm telling you, a lot of those people will be cutting all the way down there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because they feel they have that right. You know, I own all the way and they don't. So that's just my concern, that we really do go after this.
And as far as, punitive damages are concerned, it's pretty much up to the court now rather than the council to, serve justice on this, is it not?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, the council,
I mean, we all know how the law works. I mean, it's,
I've never even played one on TV.
I mean, there could be, we discussed that, there are several outcomes, it just depends when we get there.
Okay.
That's what I mean, like I said, we're just getting started, so it's just gonna take a little time for this to work its way out. So.
Yeah, right now, I think one of the biggest things holding us up is we're having a hard time finding, so Josh reached out to our area, MD, through Missouri Department of Conservation as our area forester, and he gave us a list of 6 or 8 companies that MDC recommends, local companies, local as in St. Louis area companies, that he would recommend for tree evaluations. Because his advice was you need to, not that Josh is not a professional, but as I told you earlier, he's not, he didn't go to school to value trees. And so the advice from the MDC forester was that you find one of these companies that they gave us a list of and ask them to do it so their numbers hold up in court. And so Josh, we've contacted a number of them, and one of them doesn't do it anymore, and then a couple other ones haven't gotten back to us. I had a colleague, I posted the video on my personal Facebook page last night, and I had a colleague of mine that's in the Parks and Rec field reach out to me that's recently retired a couple years ago, and he went through, he was, I think he was a park superintendent for either St. Charles County or St. Charles City, and he went through a similar instance, occurrence like this, and he spouted off the Missouri rules about triple the value right away, and he knew all that, and he said, if you need any help with this, here's my number, reach out to me. And so one of the people he recommended was also one of the people on MDC's list that they gave us. So Josh called that guy this morning. We never got a call back from him, so I reached out to my friend and said, hey, if you know this guy personally, which I think he might because he's been in the field for a long time, could you reach out to him for the city of Washington and just say, hey, give me a call so we can kind of get things moving. So we'll see. I don't know if he knows him personally or not for sure, but I think he might, and we'll see. But that's, right now, I think that's kind of the thing holding us up is we need to get a professional evaluation of the site, so.
Now, the logs and the trees and all of that, is that going to be left like that, or are we going to clean that up at his?
Well, there's issues with that. That just came up today. I hadn't really thought about that. And John Nilgis, the Public Works Director, was looking into that. There could be real issues with, if we just left it lay the way it is now, the next flood, that stuff's going to be floating everywhere.
Yeah.
It's going to be all over the trails and hung up everywhere, and it's just going to cause my guys more work.
Yeah.
So I personally would like to see it removed.
Okay.
But doing that, I think, is going to be pretty tricky because it's a wetland. So
Yeah.
there'll be a certain way it has to be done, and it's probably not going to be cheap, I imagine.
Also, when I was walking down there and taking pictures, I noticed the Beavers have done a good job down there, and they really got a couple big ones that they are working on.
Are they working again, or is it the same ones? from
It's
this fall?
just to the east of where those trees were cut down. There's 2 pretty good-sized trees that they've been working on, and I'm wondering
There's less to choose from.
thought
where
we had
those are
them
going to
all.
fall.
I thought we had them all. So okay, I'll write that down. too.
I took a picture of them, and I'll send it to you.
Okay,
Just a-
yeah, if you don't mind.
It's fresh cuts.
That's it.
It's fresh.
Yeah.
So it'd be east of where this
East of
construction-
where he cut them down.
Okay.
Yeah. Between that and the
Hummingbird.
mileage marker.
Okay.
Okay. Jokingly, I said he should He should have gathered up a bunch of beavers and took them down there and let them work on those trees. It would have been cheaper for him. Anything else on the illegal tree removal?
Well, on this letter, are you wanting our
Oh, yes.
signatures? I mean, what are,
Good point.
Well, I was, so I passed around that letter, the big letter that says draft on it in red, and I worked with Tessie and Sparky. They came to me, was that last week, I think, and said that a letter probably needed to be drafted on behalf of the Parks Commission. They gave me some ideas and asked me to kind of develop a letter, and so that's what you're looking at here. I ran it by them earlier today, and both of them seemed to like it. We added a little bit in. You guys can let me know if what I added in about MoDOT, if that makes sense, or if anything needs to be reworded or anything like that. And then once I get the green light, then I'll let Darren Lamb see it, and then we can get it to City Council.
and one other question to this, I think that we have a tree committee, and I think they should also be listed on this letter, because I'm sure that.
Well, that's why I was wondering if I should list them on this. I was going to ask for some advice from you all, if we should list both of them, or if it should be a whole different letter from them, or.
No, I think, because they are part of they are like a subcommittee to the Parks Department.
Okay.
And so I think that they should be listed.
Yeah, we
as
can-
well. That's.
I think they would be. I hadn't approached them yet. It's just been crazy with all
Well,
these
some of
meetings
them,
and
they
stuff like that.
definitely
But
know.
yeah, I've been sending them stuff, but I haven't had anyone reach out to me and say, for sure. But I was planning on to go after this meeting, like later this week, to reach out to them and get their thoughts. But I think it would be good to add them to the
I do
list
too.
here.
I agree with that.
Good idea.
Is it?
Oh yeah, we
is
have
it-
one of the members right
Yeah.
here.
Well, and John's seen it too, so.
Oh, yeah.
And he replied to your email.
Is it appropriate at any time to possibly maybe send a letter to all the homeowners along the trail and remind them, because there's been a lot of turnover, since the trail was refurbished, so to speak. I mean, there's houses selling all the time. And I'm just wondering, if that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah,
to go
it might not
along
be a
with
bad
That would be a city.
There,
Well, you would.
don't quote me on this. I mean,
I won't, the paper will
yeah, the
though.
paper's here.
Put your pen down.
There is a deed, there's a deed with every piece of property along the riverfront, and that stays with that property. So when that home gets sold and purchased, there's an actual recorded deed that stays with that piece of property.
So the person that did this had the information, they just chose not to read it.
I have a
Oh
question.
my
that-
God, that's even worse.
Yeah.
That really is. That's even worse.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have a question about, do we have a similar situation on the West Trail?
As you mean the sight line and the easement?
Yes.
No.
We don't have the concern.
You could.
Ooh, I think there isn't, I think
I
I
think,
think with David Polite, there is a.
Is that way pretty far west?
Yeah, all the way,
Yes.
Yeah, you
that's
might
in
be
the-
right there, yeah.
That's in the circle.
Okay.
'Cause
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
one,
He's in the circle.
he sold that property to the city.
Yeah.
For the trail. And I'm not sure exactly, but I think there is an arrangement where he can have trees cut,
Okay.
to maintain.
Yeah, I think you're right now. I think I remember Darren, my first.
Salaberries and plates and.
yep, exactly.
Is there anything that goes into the equation for the cost of trees? For example, the number of people that use that trail on a daily basis? I mean, to me, it's no worse than cutting trees down around Lions Lake. I mean, this is a highly utilized,
Yeah.
Park.
No, nothing for the amount of users or anything like that. It wasn't part of the formula.
yeah.
Are there any comments or additions or changes that anybody wants to make to this letter?
Sounds good.
I thought it was very well written,
Yeah, very well written. Yeah.
and
Yeah, I'll add that.
I think that we should have a motion to
Yeah.
Admit this?
I will
support
make-
this letter, and
I'll make a motion that we support this letter. We send this letter on to council with the addendum of the Urban Forestry Commission also being listed on this letter.
Very good.
Second.
And a second by Bob.
That's the second.
Bob Zerk, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Good report.
Kind of.
Washington Soccer Academy update.
So we had, it was a couple weeks ago, I guess, or maybe last week, recently, a meeting with the Soccer Association president, just on communication and I guess what kind of, so recently, I guess it was back in December, they were here and gave a report, and then February 1st or 2nd, they were using the athletic fields at Lakeview after we had quite a bit of rain and some snow. And one of your fellow commission members here had reached out to me late one night and asked, if I knew what was going on and if it was maybe the appropriate time for them to be using the field based on soil conditions. And I didn't know that they were using the fields, and I contacted Robin, the rec coordinator who's in charge of field rentals, and she didn't know that they were using fields. And when the president was here in December, she stated that practices and games would begin at the end of February, and this was at the beginning of February, so we were all a little bit confused on what was going on. And so she came in and we kind of worked through some communication issues and talked about future parking, the parking that you saw, the diagram you saw recently here on the other side of the gate by the soccer, what we consider the soccer pavilion up there, and different things like that. Tessie and Sparky were both there. You want to comment on what you heard and saw at the meeting? And
Well, me personally, it was a very good meeting. I think that Wayne did a good job of presenting our concerns, primarily about communication, and our concerns about the field and resting the field and trying to schedule so that there's time for maintenance on the fields up there. And I think Darren was at the meeting also, and he made a few comments. Tessie brought up the idea of maybe a long-range plan, look at an artificial field for soccer somewhere. We don't know where, but so that would be something that we could look at in the future. But I think both parties would agree that it was a good meeting and it needed to be done. And I think we should have more of them like that.
Yeah, there was some conflicts that needed to be worked out. I mean, not only did they practice, they turned on the lights.
Yes.
And so we didn't even know that, the parks didn't even know that the lights were being used. And so in the course of the meeting, some very good communication. And my question would be, did we ever get the things we asked from her yet?
we got most of them, and the key I told, because there was snow on the ground, is kind of a long drawn-out thing. We didn't get the key back, but I was okay with that because of the conditions up there and everything like that.
And
They were supposed to start practicing Monday, and so by the time the snow melted and everything, it would have only been like a couple days difference. I said, just keep it. I think she understands where we were coming from.
Okay.
But with that said, the field, then we had an inch of rain over the weekend, so they weren't able to start this week. And Monday was with the council meeting and everything, was a very crazy day. And then I was short-staffed, and we actually had to close the office downstairs because I didn't have anyone but myself down there. And I was running around to meetings all day. I didn't get the communication out to her. I wanted to go out. We looked at the fields and made a decision on Monday morning that they weren't going to be playable this whole week for practices. And that communication was supposed to go out to her Monday morning, and it did, for whatever reason, it didn't. And I didn't get it out myself to her until about 3 o'clock. I really thought, and that was after she called up here to third floor because I didn't have anyone answering the phones. And I really thought that was going to be an issue, but thankfully it was not. And so,
Good.
you know, despite the nice weather this week, you know,
Right.
I'm sure they would all like to be out
Yeah, I know.
practicing.
Yep.
There hasn't been any issues, so that's been
Well,
good.
I misspoke. It was a good meeting. There were some kinks that needed to be worked out. Hopefully they're worked out. If not, then we'll have to, you know, go to Plan B. But right now, I think everybody is understanding what everybody needs to do. So that's good.
Yep.
Okay, any questions there? Athletic field banner fees?
Yeah, so you have another handout. This is the night of handouts. Well, I don't know where it is in your packet, but it's,
Before the draft,
Second last page.
yeah.
so, it was, you know, it was brought, I guess, when we were reevaluating the athletic field fees, I think it was brought up in one of the meetings that, you know, there's certain sports that hang up banners on fences up at Ronsick Field and Lakeview and some of our athletic fields. And people knew that they're sponsorship banners, so the company pays them X amount of dollars to hang their banner up during their season on the city fence, baseball fence or soccer fence or whatever it may be. Well, the city has an ordinance that you can't just hang up signs, whether temporary, permanent, or anything on city property. So it's an ordinance violation. But we understand that these organizations, a lot of them rely on these donations, these sponsorship donations, to function. And so the city, Parks Department, administration, since it is technically illegal and it is city property, we would like to have basically, you know, a small percentage of that fee since it's city property. And what we would do is take that money, the small percentage that we get from those banners, and somehow put it back into the field of the facility. So in the end, it still helps the organization. And so that's what you're looking at. We did some research, some surveys last year and then again this fall on this. A lot of Parks and Rec departments are in the situation that, say, the Legion is in. They go out and solicit the sponsors themselves because it's usually an in-house league of some kind that's ran at the city park or city field. And so that sponsorship would then directly benefit the city program, whether it's T-ball or co-ed men's softball or whatever it may be. Whereas this is a little bit different because you have outside organizations that are running these leagues basically so the city doesn't have to. It's providing a service to the city residents, but they're going out and soliciting these sponsorships. So they're doing almost all the work, or all the work, but the only difference is they're putting it and displaying the sign for their season on city property. And so that's how this all developed. There's not a ton that function, or any really that I could find that function what we have on paper here. But I talked with Kent Getzke from the Legion when he was in January, and we had discussed this briefly last year when we were revising fees. So he was aware of it, and we talked about it in January. And from as far as the fee on here, listed on here, he's fine with the fee. And then I followed up with him a couple weeks ago and said, hey, I just want to let you know this is coming down the pipe. I'm going to be taking it to Park Board here in the next couple weeks. And he said, okay. Really, his only suggestion was as long as it's the same for all the sports, soccer, football, baseball, then he would be fine with it. So I guess with that said, these are all specifications, like I said, for the other, I guess, way of running it. If the Parks Department was going out and soliciting donations from these sponsors for the Parks Department, these are kind of guidelines that I've found that other Parks Department uses. So there's a specification on the size of banners, not so you don't have gigantic ones or really tiny ones, and different things like that, and what can be displayed, who has the final say on what can be put up, you know, if it's considered controversial. One of the things I wanted to make sure that everyone understood, the banner is not the city, so we have no responsibility of replacing it if it's stolen, damaged, whatever. And I know when talking to Kent, he said, like, if they have the same sponsor year after year, Kent, the Legion or whoever it is, charges less for that sign because they don't have to produce a sign. So they charge, like, if it's a $500 sponsorship, they'll only charge $400 the second year because they already have the sign made. And so I know that goes into play, and I wanted to let him know ahead of time because he's probably going out soliciting for these sponsors right now that, you know, a tiny bit of that would be coming towards the city, be asked to come towards the city, and he said he was fine with that. So I guess with that said, is there anything on here? Now this, I'm not exactly sure. I sent this to Darren Lamb, my boss, before 5, but I didn't hear back from him. I'm assuming, and I got to get some direction from here, that we will take these rules and kind of insert them and amend the current ordinance. So it'll still say that no signs are allowed on city property. And this particular ordinance that I'm talking about is a park ordinance, so it's on those it says no signs are allowed on park property, temporary or permanent signs, but then we'll have to put in an exception for athletic field sponsorship signs that are only up during that specific sports season.
And then this would also be put with the contracts to use the fields for each athletic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we would let them know, when they're signing a contract, you know, hey, we have this, if you're gonna have banners up this year, that's fine, just, you know, $50 of that fee needs to come to the city.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Sparky.
go ahead.
Okay, I know the Legion has banners, you know, in the outfield. Are other, you know, soccer, football, et cetera, do they have banners as well?
Soccer doesn't, but I know they want to.
We talked about that before, but this is a draft now. This hasn't been approved yet, has it?
No, it'll have to go, I have to get direction from my boss on how it'll fit into the ordinance, but once the ordinance gets passed by city council, if they do pass it, then it would become fully in effect for this coming year.
I agree with you, knowing some of the sports programs that are here in town. The sponsorship, you know, is a big source of revenue for these teams, you know, to operate because of their insurance costs and everything else. So I hope this does go through, okay? But I like the ruling on this too, that it has to come down and, you know, at least, you know, you got some good ideas right here, you know.
And then I know football, I haven't talked to football, but I know people have told me they hang up banners like when they have their jamboree, but then they take them down right away. So technically, if they wanted, they could leave them up, you know. I don't know if their sponsorships are like, in that case, if it's specifically for that jamboree or for the tournament, or if it's the same, if they have a sponsor that sponsors their whole season. So if they did, they could leave it up the whole season instead of having to take it down every week, so,
But I would give them that option to go back to their sponsors, yeah.
yeah.
So do you want us to,
Yeah, if you're fine with these rules, I mean, it won't look like this probably next time you see it because it'll be put into the ordinance and the ordinance has to read a certain way, but this is the meat and potatoes of, like, the rules.
Well, I don't know if possible, I'd like to make a motion that, you know, we approve this to go to council or whatever, to the city.
Okay.
Because I think it'd be an excellent way for these sports communities to help pay for some of their fees and stuff like that.
so we have a motion on the
Second
floor
it.
by Bob, seconded by Bob.
Bob and Bob, it's the Bob and Bob show.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's very good. Okay, DNR Commission meeting, third Wednesday of the month.
So,
I think that I had a conversation with Wayne about this because of getting stuff approved by the park board before the council meetings instead of missing it by a month.
Okay.
And did you want to change that to the second, or?
well, so there's a new development. I was looking at this a little bit closer
Uh-oh.
before this meeting. We can still move it. We had talked about, I think, the third Wednesday, but I was looking at my meeting schedule. So the first Wednesday, which is today, usually have this meeting, and then at 7 o'clock, I usually have Fair Board. The second Wednesday, I don't have any meetings. The third Wednesday, I usually have Urban Forestry meeting. And then the fourth Wednesday, no, what is today? Then the fourth Wednesday, I have nothing. So it'd have to be either the second, well, it couldn't be the fourth, because that wouldn't really, it wouldn't make the council packet, is the problem with the fourth. So it's really got to be the second meeting, second Wednesday, I
Wednesday
should.
of the month.
Yeah,
So the second Wednesday?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that work for you comfortably?
yes. Yeah,
Is that a problem, an issue for anybody else? That we would make that effective with our,
Casey, that doesn't,
with our
Next month.
Next meeting.
meeting in April?
Yes, it would.
but normally on the
Would for
second,
me.
on the
Wait,
Huh?
second
We
Wednesday.
have our board
We had that
meetings at the
discussion.
Legion on Wednesday,
Still
second
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
I can't.
Yeah, next week.
and what time?
7 o'clock.
So we have one that has a 7 o'clock meeting on the second Wednesday.
We have our board meeting then at 7 o'clock on that second.
So Bob, or Dan Cassett and I also have Fair Board meeting at 7 o'clock on whatever
Monday.
Wednesday this is, first Wednesday of
Yes.
every. So I don't know, that's the thing, I don't know what to do. I mean, it's,
Bob could, I mean,
I mean, what difference?
I mean, most meetings were done by 7, but you got travel time, and I know you'd be late, probably late for the next meeting, which is what I am for Fair Board usually.
Well, I'm the president of the board down.
Oh, yeah, you can't really be late.
Well, change the meeting to 7:30 if you.
Yeah, yeah, just,
There you go, you got power.
would 5:30 affect anybody? If we made our meeting at 5:30?
Yeah, that's fine.
the only one my effect would be Jeff Hatke.
And that would affect for a couple months till after the election, and then,
Yeah, it's only one more meeting for me, so.
yeah, yeah.
We'll miss
Then they'll
you.
make new appointments for
Yeah.
whoever's elected.
Oh,
Then they make new appointments to the different
Yeah, maybe
committees.
somebody different. so.
Yeah.
Or it will be somebody different.
I mean, not saying that Jeff won't stay with us. I don't mean that, but that's usually what happens.
I mean, is a week gonna make that much difference?
For getting information to
It
the.
can at times, Bob, it has at times where we have gotten information after it went to council.
yeah.
We did not,
even though-
we were not a part of proposing something or knowing about something before it went to council.
So that's why back in January, we had 2 meetings in January, and we had to have it that last weekend in January, so it was before the city council, that
City
first
council.
council meeting in February.
Yeah.
Because it needed what was it, pool fees?
Yeah.
It had to be passed by you all before it could go to council, and the only way that could happen was to have that meeting at the end of January,
Yeah.
so it could go to council in February.
Jeff is one of them that has suggested this also.
Yeah,
Yes.
Jeff actually suggested moving it to that last week, but like Wayne noted, I don't think that'll help you.
Because the council packet, the deadline for the council packet is on that last Wednesday of the month at noon.
Right. So you'd be-
And so our meeting would be after the council packet. It was
Yeah.
already, everything that was going to council the next week's already put in the council
Right.
packet.
Right. So,
Does
does
it have to
anybody
say
have any
Wednesday?
problems with 5:30 on the second Wednesday of the month?
You want to try it and see how it works?
Try it.
Do it at 5:30?
Let's try it.
Yeah, 5:30 works
Fine with me.
better for me.
So 5:30, second Wednesday. Okay, and if there's an issue, then Bob bring it.
We need to vote on that, or we just doing it?
I think we could just, well,
We need to vote on it.
I make a motion then that we move our meetings to the second Wednesday of the month at 5:30 PM.
Change my whole,
Do I hear a second?
A second.
I changed my whole calendar.
Second came from Bob. So, Gavin made the motion and second by Bob. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay.
The best thing is, when I show up at the first Wednesday next month, I won't miss it yet.
That's right.
So our
Now
next
I
meeting,
gotta
our next
figure out how
meeting
to
is
take that out of the calendar.
April 7th.
April 14th, right?
Oh, second Wednesday. Yes, you're
April
right.
14th.
April
And
14th.
it's at 5:30, right?
14.
Yeah.
Yes, 5:30.
Well, I won't be
5:30.
here, I'll be in California, but I mean.
Oh, well, listen
Oh,
to
okay,
that.
that's a good excuse.
Okay. Any other comments, any other subject matters? If not, may I have a motion for an
motion, we
adjournment? Pardon me?
No motion?
I'm sorry, who said that one?
I'll motion.
Debbie made the motion to adjourn, and Bob
Hey, thanks.
Zurich, second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So be it.
That was cute. I got, jumped right up.
When's the election?
April 6th.
The 6th?
It's a wrap.
Can we vote early?